All right, what's up, guys? All right, so today we are going to do a beginner guide on how to play Rainbow Six Siege. So you're new, year 7. There's a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of things to go over. So I did a beginner guide on how to play every individual operator. Kind of did a speed run of that, but today we're going to talk about the general basics on what is Siege, how do you play Siege, how do I get better at Siege. Let's get to it. So Rainbow Six Siege is a attacker versus defender. Attackers have to plant the bomb, defenders have to obviously protect the bomb, and attackers will bring the diffuser into a site, plant the diffuser, and if defenders destroy the diffuser, then the defenders will win. So it's first 1 to 4 in ranked. If you go 3-3, so attackers are 3, defenders are 3, then you go to OT, which is first to 5. You play 3 rounds out, and then you swap sides. Now, let's talk about your job as a defender. Newer players, defending is going to be a lot easier than attacking. The biggest things to keep in mind as a defender is time is on your side. You are playing with the time. You don't need to run around and jump outside and do some crazy shit. Stall, buy time, utility deny, hold back, play an angle. Attackers have to push in. They're the ones that have to get proactive and swing into sight to deal with you guys. If you hold your ground and stay in sight and don't let them in, you will win. You will win. So in a round, you're going to reinforce. You're going to want to reinforce the outside walls to make it harder for the attackers to get inside the building. You're going to want to place your utility from the operators that you pick. You want to think about what your utility does. Let's say you're Melusi, you want to place a Banshee down because it will slow people as they walk in, or a Goyo fire, so that if someone jumps in, you can shoot the fire. It'll deny that area. You're going to want to think about where you're placing that utility, so when the attackers do pressure into the site or the building, they will be slowed down. They'll have to use more time, or they'll end up dying over it. You have to defend the walls as long as you can using wall denial, such as mute jammers, bandit charges, or K charges. So again, to deny time and deny access into sites. So if they can't get through the wall, then they'll have to go around. So as a defender, you're denying the time. They have to push in sight, deal with all the defenders on site, hopefully win their firefights. And if they don't, well, then you win. The big thing on defense is knowing what walls to reinforce and what walls to open. As you play, you'll learn, all right, I should have a rotation here, or this wall should be closed. How you know is if you want to be able to have easier access into a room as a defender to maybe hold it, you're gonna want to put a rotation using a shotgun impact or a nitro. If you don't want the attackers to be able to push through that, then reinforce it, use wall denial, etc. Close that wall, make sure they can't get in. So normally people will make rotations on connecting sites, so it's easier for the defenders to rotate from site to site, and they'll reinforce and use wall denial on the walls facing the outside where the attackers start at. Defenders will start off with outside cameras that they will be able to use to find out where the attackers are coming from. There's inside cameras that you're going to be able to use on every single map that the attackers will have to shoot every single time they spawn in. And as they do so, you will have intelligence on where they're pushing from, where they're at, what they're doing. Especially if they don't shoot the cameras, you'll be able to give real-time feedback. And there's operators such as Valkyrie, Bulletproof Cams, the Universal Gadget, or Echo Cams, or Maestro, etc., that you'll be able to actually place your own cameras inside the map and get real-time intelligence on where they're pushing, what they're doing. So now let's start on attack. So to attack, this is going to be a lot harder for beginner players, so you're going to have to really keep some of these tips in mind. When you're attacking, intelligence is a lot lower. You're not going to have cameras that you're going to be able to access. You're going to have to physically drone yourself in, drone out areas that you want to clear. I want to really emphasize this. A lot of people would just drive their drone into a site and it'll get shot. Your drone is like an extra life, like in Mario. You're gonna want to kind of use that life to peek around corners to double check things. But make sure there aren't enemies lurking around the corner, because occasionally you will die to a rat or someone hiding in a corner. You didn't drone out a Capcan trap or nitro, and it'll kill you. You're gonna want to make sure you use your drones and communicate with your teammates by either telling them like what's going on, what you're droning, going through drone holes, making sure like, okay, there's a bandit on the wall, you can destroy the bandit with XYZ, etc. Now once prep phase is over, attackers will start moving into the map. You will have 3 minutes to plant the diffuser. If you plant the diffuser at the last second of the round, you will have 45 seconds still. So the diffuser goes down, you have 45 seconds for the defenders to have to defuse it. The defuse timer is about 7 seconds, so if the defender jumps on the timer at 6 seconds, they will be too slow. They will have to jump on it a little bit earlier. So you can play time once the diffuser's down and just keep them off of it. So roles. Attackers, you're going to want a hard breach to open up any necessary walls so you can have easier access into site or easier access into certain areas that the defenders are going to reinforce and try to keep you out of. You're also going to want entries. Entries are going to be players that like Ash, Sophia, Finka that are going to be pushing into the map to take control of certain areas so your hard breachers, your support players can get in and open things. And then there's also flank watch players like Nomad and Gridlock or Zero that are going to be able to, once you take control, you're going to keep control because defenders will be able to run up and maybe roam up on top of you, but flank watchers are going to be able to keep them back a little bit longer. One of the biggest things newer players need to keep in mind is every attacker will start off with 2 drones, one in prep phase and one will be in your pocket when you spawn. Drone room to room as you push forward. Don't drone too much because a lot of people will over drone. They'll drone an entire map, realize there's 1 minute left and have to just kind of rush through things that were already droned, but defenders came back into the rooms and retook control and they get caught off guard. They got caught lacking. Drone room to room, drone things that are relevant and push forward. Don't drone too long. You will get you won't get much done. One of the biggest problems I see with newer players in Siege is they'll spend a lot of time waiting outside, waiting for things to happen, or they'll spend too much time on drones checking things without actually taking control. When you drone something, if it is clear, don't be afraid to take control. Tell your teammates if you like, hey, I'll drone you in. You'll hear a lot of people say that, hey, I'll drone you in. They'll drone into an area, call out what's clear, where enemies are at. If there aren't any enemies, if there's no enemies, they'll just push in. Be smart about your time. You only have 3 minutes to get into the site to plant or kill all the enemies. You cannot spend all that time just on your drone or on the roof waiting for things to happen. You're an attacker. It is Siege. You have to siege the building. When you're attacking, make sure that you're playing to get the diffuser onto site. Enemies will show up trying to stop you. If you play to try to kill all the enemies on the map if they're all running around, you will run out of time almost every single time and nothing will get done. Play to push to a area on site to get the diffuser down, to plant the bomb, and you will win. All right, now let's talk about just overall gunplay and gun skill. So is one headshot mechanics. If you get shot in the head or you shoot an enemy in the head with any gun in your arsenal, you will take that enemy down. So this is very different compared to a lot of games. You can also lean, which a lot of games won't have. So be aware, like a lot of times you're better off, like let's say you're holding a door from the left side, you're going to want to lean to the right to lean over the way without exposing your entire body. You'll be able to see out of your cornermost eye and your body will be less exposed than you would be standing directly in the middle of the door frame. Rainbow Six Siege is a swing or be swung game. You're still able to hold an angle. I honestly would hold an angle if you're not really sure where the enemies are going to come from, but you know they're going to come through a certain spot like a door frame or an opening. Holding an angle on that opening isn't necessarily a bad idea. But if you have a general idea that there's an enemy around the corner, around the side, and you swing first, if you have your crosshair up, ready to shoot, a lot of times you will end up winning that firefight because you are ready for the fight. They're kind of waiting, and with the way that latency works, you will probably come out on top. Overall, attackers are going to have better guns than defenders, but attackers having ARs and a lot of LMGs and defenders having some LMGs with mostly SMGs and shotguns. Attackers have to push into the defenders, so if you play smart as a defender, the attackers have to push into you, and you'll be able to get the jump on them because they'll have to actually push into you using utility, using just their gun skill, pushing through a door frame, etc. Defenders, you will just have to hold down and kind of wait for them to push you out. And with one headshot mechanics in Siege, it is a very good equalizer because the defender guns don't do that much damage to the body, but a lot of them have faster fire rates, so it is a good equalizer. Best tips I can give for defense is to make sure you're setting yourselves up for crossfires or setting yourself up into a situation where you are going to have the advantage as the attackers come through. Let's say they're coming up a staircase, you have a guy on the top of the staircase and you have a guy on the platform as they come up. Both of you are going to see this guy as he comes up, so even if he kills one of you, the other one will kill. That's called a refrag. So setting yourself up in terms of getting refrags is essential in Rainbow Six Siege, especially in higher level play. Refragging is such a massive skill on attack, especially because when you're roam clearing, trying to clear out the roamers as an entry, having two teammates kind of doubled up, even if a defender kills one of you, if your teammate's there for the refrag, you still got the job done. You made it a 4v4, you made map progression, you cleared out an area for your team to get through, you made a lot of progress. This is still a win-win in my eyes. So working together for refrags, having your teammates join you in, is essential to winning rounds on attack in Rainbow Six Siege. So one of the crazy things about Rainbow Six Siege comparatively to other games, let's say like Valorant, is that all the walls, all the ceilings and floors are destructible. Well, not all of them, but it'll be very obvious which ones aren't. Most of them are destructible, so they'll be able to work vertical, or you'll be able to throw the nitros from underneath as a defender. As attackers, you may be able to go on top of them, open up the floor and shoot them through the floor. There's a lot of, I guess I would say, creativity that you can have in rounds to experiment to counter how the other team is playing to win rounds. So let's say we're having a hard time holding a staircase, but there is a breachable floor above it. I can go upstairs, make a shotgun hole in that floor, and I will be able to watch them as I come up that staircase through a hole in the floor. Siege is about gathering intelligence as you attack or defend to figure out what the other team is doing, so you're able to counter how they're playing. It is not a game where you can just run around in Call of Duty TDM style and just shoot them out. You will be able to do this occasionally, but most of the time this won't work against better opponents. You will have to plan out how you're going to defend, how you're going to attack, joining room to room as attackers, having decent callouts as defenders as their attackers are pushing in, etc. Gathering intelligence is going to be essential going forward in Rainbow Six Siege. There is a lot of things to learn in Rainbow Six Siege. As a newer player, it can be a little daunting. Just keep it to the basics, have a good mental, and think every time you die that what you learned that round, what you can do better next time. There's a lot of operators, there's a lot of maps. This is a game of map knowledge is king. When you learn the maps, you will feel a lot more comfortable picking different operators and doing different things and be a little bit more experimental instead of just copying what you see other players do. At the start, don't be afraid to copy what you see other teammates doing. Learn the map as you go. Once you have more knowledge, you'll be a little bit more comfortable. I feel like Siege is probably a game of about, I would say, 70% map knowledge, 20% game sense, and 10% raw aim. So yes, your aim will help make the difference in some situations, but a lot of it is game sense, knowing where to position yourself, knowing what physically to do, and map knowledge as in knowing exactly what's going on, where people are at all together. So best thing I can tell you for a newer player starting off when you're defending, if you're wanting to not just be on site, maybe be one room over and try to hold that room, and if you feel like you're getting pressured too hard, maybe try to fall back to site. If you're an attacker, try to hit sites more direct, and as you learn the maps, don't be afraid to hit a little farther away from the site as you go. All right guys, I hope that helped you guys out on basically how to get started learning Rainbow Six Siege. I will have more in-depth videos on how to improve at the game and certain things like how to do vertical play, how to drone, how to flank watch, how to roam, how to anchor, all these terms. But it is a lot going forward. If you're a newer player, this guide has been for you. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to drop a comment. I'm very responsive, so don't be afraid to drop a comment. I'll hit you back up. And if you appreciate the content, guys, make sure to leave a like and drop a sub. Till next time, guys.